When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the Grease Comedy channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk about Stannis. Does he really believe in R'hllor when the Red God and everything Melisandre is bringing to the table, or is it something else? I think the fandom has gotten a little bit confused with this subject in terms of some people just don't care about Stannis as much as others. Like, for on this channel, I think it's quite commonly known that Stannis is my favorite character, and he's a kind of a fan favorite on this channel, I believe. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to go through kind of the timeline in terms of Stannis kind of publicly declaring that he is not going with the Seven anymore. He's with R'hllor, and what is his actual relationship with the Red God and everything going on there. But I want to give a massive thank you to my Patreons and members. If you did want to become one, you do get videos early, and I am doing some exclusive content specifically for House of the Dragon in preparation for Season 2. I've already done Aemond. I'm probably going to be doing Alicent this week, so if you're interested in that, consider that. But let's get into the video. So, and when we come in on this opening of Clash of Kings, and we trying to understand this character of Stannis, he doesn't seem like someone that's bought into R'hllor, but he also is someone that's going against the gods of his family, of his ancestors. So what does Stannis truly believe? So I want to do a quote right away because I think it really clears up a lot about Stannis and what he actually believes. And this is kind of in relation to his upbringing. Stannis stood abruptly. R'hllor, why is that so hard? They will not love me, you say. When have they ever loved me? How can I lose something I have never owned? He moved to the south window to gaze at the moonlit sea. I stopped believing in gods the day I saw the wind-proud break across the bay. Any gods so monstrous as to drown my mother and father would never have my worship, I vowed. In King's Landing, the High Septon would prattle at me of how all justice and goodness flowed from the Seven. But all I ever saw of either was made by men. If you do not believe in gods, why trouble with this new one? Stannis broke in. I have asked myself as well. I know little and care less of gods, but the Red Priestess has power. That, in a lot of regards, can kind of explain exactly what Stannis believes about religion. Stannis, the way I read the character of Stannis is he is an atheist. He is someone that, as I read in that quote, that believes that men are the real issue. They are the people that are creating all of either the solutions or the problems, right? And when you look at that, and you look at the way Stannis also describes never being loved, Stannis has not gained anything. His life has been very unhappy. He's definitely a version of either being a very hollow person or someone that is very depressed. In the same route of looking at Renly's peach, Stannis does not have enjoyment. That is Stannis' big flaw compared to Renly, who has too much enjoyment. And so Stannis comes out as this character who it's like, why not go away from the Seven? The people already don't like me, so what is getting rid of the Seven going to do? Those people already don't want to support me. Think about that time of A Clash of Kings, right? During this time period of Stannis, he should be the heir, right? Ned has openly declared through these letters, and Stannis then openly even more brings it out that Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen are bastards. So in that regard, Stannis should be the king. And nobody rallies to him. Basically nobody. They all go for his brother Renly. And so in a lot of veins, it's Stannis really saying that I would rather choose the option that gains me some sort of power, or it puts fear in my enemies, or even some of my own men from deserting. All of that is important. Think about what Melisandre establishes right away. She establishes, one, that this poison that Cresson uses didn't work on her. But she also establishes that she can make shadow babies and sometimes see the future. She is someone that gains Stannis a lot of fear. People will fear him more than love him. And so Stannis plays into that, right? If you can't have love, well, then you might as well have fear. It's that kind of idea. And now Stannis doesn't completely go into fear. Like, he's not an unjust person, but he uses that to his advantage. He uses what's at his disposal. The Red God inherently has power. And we know that, right? Stannis has another quote that I'd like to read to you guys that really expresses that Stannis realizes that the Red God, there's at least some power with Melisandre. He's just not sure what that is. And he doesn't subscribe to it, as well as we'll talk about a little bit later on. Stannis stared at the silver dish. She has shown it to me, Lord Davos, in the flames. You saw it, sire. It was not like Stannis Baratheon to lie about such a thing. With my own eyes, after the battle when I was lost to despair, the Lady Melisandre bid me gaze into the hearth fire. The chimney was drawing strongly, and bits of ash were rising from the fire. I stared at them, feeling half a fool, but she bid me look deeper, and the ashes were white, rising in the updraft. Yet all at once it seemed as if they were falling. Snow, I thought. Then the sparks in the air seemed to circle, to become a ring of torches, and I was looking through the fire down on some high hill in the forest. The cinders had become men in black behind the torches, and there were shapes moving through the snow. For all the heat of the fire, I felt a cold so terrible, and I shivered. And when I did, the sight was gone. The fire, but a fire once again, but what I saw was real. I'd stake my kingdom on it. So we know right away what this refers to, right? Stannis is actually seeing a vision, right? He's seeing the Battle of the Fist of the First Men that we see with Sam and kind of in the prologue of A Storm of Swords. So we know that Stannis has seen stuff. He has realized the power, right? That power of the Red God is what brought Renly down. So all of this combined tells us that Stannis, yes, understands what this magic does, or more or less, or believes maybe he thinks he does, but he doesn't subscribe to it, right? As we're going to see later on. Even when we get to A Dance with Dragons, Stannis has this line that says, "Half my army is made up of unbelievers." Stannis had replied, "I will have no burnings, pray harder." Again, you got to remember that Stannis is also really looking at his army in A Dance with Dragons. Half of it is made up of Northerners who are going to be offended by Mel burning down trees, right? That's one of the reasons Mel kind of stays back, right? And so we see all this happening where Stannis understands what's going on, but he understands that there is power in that religion, using religion to manipulate parts of his army and things like that, as well as gaining their power. And so Stannis, the conclusion of this video really is that Stannis doesn't really support R'hllor. He isn't a follower of the religion at all. But what he is a follower of is he's a follower of that power. He realizes that can be weaponized and used for his gains, right? For him to climb that ladder to become king or to save Westeros. That's the point here. He is someone that doesn't go out of his way to burn people, like I talked about in that last little short quote I did. He is someone that only does it at desperate times when it's needed and there is no other option in terms of saving Westeros or him becoming king. Think about Renly, right? That was the only option. I thought about making a video like that as well, but when you think about Renly, the only way Stannis had a chance in the war is if he got Renly's men, and the only way that was going to happen is if Renly died. Well, how does Stannis do that? There's only a couple of options. One of them is going to be a faceless man, but that's going to be extremely expensive given how Renly is a king now, more or less, and he's a Baratheon. And the other option is trusting in Melisandre to use this magic that she has kind of proved that she seems to have. So you pile this all together, and that is my conclusion. The conclusion is Stannis uses the Red God.